Our next presenter is Mark Mathis. Mark Mathis has over 20 years of water loss experience. He is the Senior Water Loss Validator, the Chair of Water Loss Subcommittee of the Texas AWWA Water Conservation Committee. He is also the Vice Chair of the National AWWA Water Loss Control Committee. He is currently in graduate school at Texas State Physical and Applied Geography from Texas State, San Marcos. Please welcome Mark Mathis.
Thank you so much. You haven't even heard my presentation yet, and you're clapping. It's awesome. So yeah, I'm Mark Mathis. I'm at the Texas Water Development Board. I wanted to talk a little bit about some house cleaning stuff. So we've got a great staff at the Water Development Board. We've got Lauren Whitman and Taylor Nickel, Karen Sanders, and myself, and we all do validations for the state. Who has had a validation done for them? 1, 2 people, maybe 3. Okay, who are you with? East?
Well, the validation was through Moorville Water Supply.
Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about validations and how that process works. You know, if you're ever on an airplane and that person next to you is talking a lot and you don't really want to talk to them, just tell them you're an IRS auditor. They won't talk to you anymore. I just tell them I'm a validator, and they're like, I don't want to be validated, thank you. So there's a couple of different criteria that you need to meet to be validated by the board. One of them is you have a current financial obligation with us, or you're coming into the board for financial obligation. So last year was a voluntary process, and this year it's a mandatory, and so utilities have to be validated every year until that financial obligation or loan is paid off in full. It's not until the project is finished, it's until the money's paid back. So what is a validation? So it's very similar to what a CPA would do when they go into a business. It's the process of examining water audit inputs to improve the water audit's accuracy and document the uncertainty associated with water audit data. And these are just a couple of bullet points: identify and appropriately correct for inaccuracies in the data, and then evaluate and communicate that uncertainty with the utility. So it's an independent review. It's an outside party coming in and looking at your water loss audit. So the utility has completed the water loss audit and you sent it in, and we're a third party. We're going to look at it from the outside. Think of it more a review of the policies and procedures. So yes, we do look at the data and we compare the reports. You know, you've got the water loss audit, and I'm assuming that you use the data, the reports that you sent us to fill out the audit. So we're looking not only at the data, but the policies and procedures that were developed to get the data, to obtain it. And then we're looking at ensuring that the water loss audit data matches the annual data, the reports. The objectives is to improve the utility's understanding of the water loss audit. I'm proud to say back in 2003, when I was hired at the board, I've been at the board 3 different times. I did my internship there. I worked there from 2003 to 2011 and then left, kind of did my own thing. And my wife said, you need to go back because I really like fixed incomes. As a consultant, sometimes your expenses are more than your revenue. I don't know. So in the beginning, the water loss audit, utilities look at it from a perspective that it's just another report to fill out. And I know y'all don't need more reports to fill out. But the idea behind the water loss audit is to give the utility history, if you will. So you've got the water loss audit data every year, and you're looking at the metrics, and you've got history, and you look at it over time. Am I getting better, or am I getting worse? And I know I'm with the government, but I'm actually here to help you. So, you know, we've got 4 staff, including myself. If you have any questions about the water loss audit or any programs that we have, you can always call us and ask. We're not We're not going to send Guido after you. We're just going to provide the best information and try to help you the best we can. And then we encourage open communication between the utility and the Water Development Board. We're not regulatory. We're nice people. So what is this process? Well, you've submitted the water loss audit. If you haven't submitted the audit, we're not going to reach out to you. So we're going to send you a documents request that's got it's a checklist of all these different reports that we're asking for. And we all know, the four of us know, that some of those reports aren't applicable to your utility. So you just email us and say, hey, this isn't, I don't have this. It's not going to happen. That's fine. Just send us what you have, and if we need something else, we will ask for it. But we want as much information as we can so that when we get to the audit, get to the meeting, we have enough information to conduct the audit. The validation interview, so once we've got the documents and we've reviewed them, we're going to reach out to the utility. We call it a booking, but it's basically an email where it's a booking site, and you go in and you pick a date and time that's convenient for you. And in that meeting, we would like someone from operations, someone from billing, someone from production, so that everybody is in the room and we can have a productive meeting without having to do 2 or 3 meetings. The way the meeting is set up is it's a no judgment zone. We're not judging you, we're not judging the utility, we're not judging the data. We're just getting the data, we have it, we're looking at the reports, and we ask questions. And the data and the answers are what they are. And we realize that smaller utilities aren't going to have the same data that larger ones have. And that's fine. That's no judgment. And then after the validation meeting, sometime there afterwards, we will send you a report, which will have your basic assessment score before the validation and your scoring after the validation. And then we'll have some recommendations and then at the bottom, we'll show you how we came up with those recommendations based on the notes and answers that you gave us. So what do utilities need to provide? Pretty much everyone, a system schematic that shows your boundary map, your boundary meters, which are your well meters or your intake meters, something on a map that shows those, and preferably with your elevated storage as well, your elevated storage tanks or ground storage, so that we can see how the water flows and whether each intake has a meter on it or not. And then you've got billed metered, billed unmetered, unbilled metered, and unbilled unmetered, breaks and leaks documentation. We want to see on the water loss audit, there's a category called reported breaks and leaks that gives you the opportunity to put in what the utility believes they lost in their main breaks. We want to see how you came up with that number. And then your retail price of water calculation, your variable production. For groundwater, your variable production is pretty simple. It's just the cost of annual cost of chemicals and electricity divided by line 16, provided you're not selling water. If you're selling water, then it would be line 13B. And then sometimes we're going to send out a pre-validation questionnaire, and the questionnaire is basically, it's similar to the questions that we're going to ask, but it's the idea so that we've got a questionnaire that you've already filled out so that we have an idea of where the system is. So you've got your total system intake. If the system has 4 or 5 wells or 4 or 5 intakes with meters, separate meters, we want to see each meter's pumpage for the month, for the year, broken down by month. We want to see that. And also with your intake, if you've got a couple of different intake points, we want to see each meter, and we want to see each pumpage for that meter in a monthly and then a yearly total. So you saw this is just annual data. And let's say that they had 4 wells. We don't have any data on the wells. So what we're trying to do is see how the 8,551,000 was, where did it come from? Is it just 1 meter? If it's 3 meters, I want to see all 3. All right, I've said that 4 times. All right, I'm going to move on. Okay, so here's what we really want. You've got your system intake, you've got your raw water, you got raw water 1, 2, and 3, and then you've got your monthly pumpage for each one, and then you've got totals for each month as well with an annual total. And the same thing for your groundwater. We want meter 1, meter 2, and so on. And then, your purchase water, or if you've got, 4 or 5 or 2 or 3 different sales meters, your exported meters, we want to see those as well broken down that way. So we're trying to, it's as I said before, it's very similar to what a CPA is going to do. They're confirming that the data on the water loss audit matches the reports. And 60% of the time, it doesn't. So that's part of the conversation on the phone call or the Teams meeting. Where'd you come up with this number when this is what you said you used? Which one do you want me to use? Well, we'll get back to you. So you do the same thing with build metered in pretty much every category throughout it. You're comparing the reports to the data and seeing if they match. If they match, great, let's move on. And then, you're aligning with the water use survey. There's quite a few volumes on the water loss audit that are auto-populated from the survey. So once you fill out the survey, then it's going to populate into the audit. But on the audit, we don't see your multifamily, single family, irrigation, commercial. We don't see those. We just see a total for the year. So this is what we would like, because you presumably had this when you filled out the water use survey. You had single family, you had it broken down by month, each category broken down by month. We would also like that spreadsheet so we can see it. We're just verifying everything, confirming. It's exciting, isn't it? We have about 2 validations a week. Sometimes, last week I had 4. They're all about 1.5 to 2 hours long. So here are some sample questions. How often are customer meters tested? If they're tested, you've got, let's say that you have a meter testing program and you've tested 40 or 50 meters throughout the year. We don't want the test results from each one of those meters, but we want to see either a report that a contractor did, or we want to see maybe 2 or 3 of those documents, the testing documents. Does an outside auditor review customer bills? So I know most utilities, when you've got, you went out and read the meters, and then there's a couple of days, and then you've got the bills generated. Have you looked to make sure that the multipliers that generate the dollar amount for the bill, make sure those are correct, that the customer's getting the right charge? And then, are you looking at high, low, are your meters, your RVS or ENCODE, is that designed so that it flags high usage or low usage, and you're reviewing that, going out and rereading meters or something? How is the system pressure determined? Is it on a small system, it may be just one pressure gauge on your elevated storage, and that's fine. Some of them have pressure monitors throughout the system, and then is it averaged or weighted? How is that calculated on the water loss audit? How often are the production meters calibrated? Are they done annually or yearly? So, calibrated and tested is not the same. Tested means you tested the meter itself. Calibrated means you probably have an electromag meter and you calibrated the electronics to match the meter. We want to see that testing documentation. If you put in, 100%, we want to see how you came up with that, and then we want to see the documentation to show it. Does the utility have a policy outlining the process? Is that policy updated? When was the last time it was updated? What is the meter population? Is it drive-by, AMR, AMI? How old is it? And then explain how the variable production cost is calculated. We'd like to see it just to ensure that it's correct on the water loss audit. So is this process mandatory? It is for utilities with a financial obligation or utilities coming in for a financial obligation. It's not punitive. It will be noted that you were unavailable for a validation if you have a financial obligation with us, if we didn't do one for you. What happens if errors are found? When we're going through the validation, we're making notes in our questionnaire, and I highlight the notes in red when revisions need to be done to the water loss audit or the water use survey. And we will reach out to the water use survey team and say, hey, during our validation, we noticed we need to make these revisions. Can you all do that? And then normally when they make them, they populate into the audit. And so at the end, when we send the final report, we will send you a copy of the revised water loss audit. We won't send you one of the water use survey, but we'll send the water loss audit. And then who can complete validations outside of TWDB? That hasn't happened yet, but approved third-party validators are permitted to validate a water loss audit, but they must have a training certificate from an approved provider. All four of us are nationally accredited on our validation. We were certified by, the Nevada, California section of the American Water Works Association. All right, so that's the water loss validation process. So this is a dashboard that we have on our website, and the validation and this aren't really connected. These are two separate things, but this is really cool. So this is a dashboard on our website that you can go in. So you've got these different, in the beginning, you've got these different headings, mitigation measures, technical assistance, and so on, that you can click on. And so this one, you look at technical assistance, it's going to take you to this page. So then you can type in your public water supply system, either the name or the ID, or the county or provider or assistance type, whatever, and it's going to show you everything that was conducted, all the technical assistance that was provided to that utility or to that region. And then, so this is a water balance. So this is important. So this is what the methodology is driven from. So you have your system input volume, and then each category to the right equals the category previously. So you've got authorized consumption, which is all the water that the utility gave someone permission to use. And it can be customers, it can be the fire department, it can be contractors, dirt contractors or whatever, or the utility itself. You gave someone permission. So then you've got water loss, and water loss is broken into apparent and real. So apparent loss is water that went through a meter somewhere, but it wasn't recorded because of the meter's inaccuracy. It's more of a paper loss. You didn't lose it, it's not gone, you just didn't get revenue for it, all right? So real loss is water that is physically gone out of your system. It leaked out of a fire hydrant, or it leaked out from your main breaks. It's gone. So with that said, I wanted to bring up a neat point. I was in a presentation yesterday, and someone used this term called unaccounted for water in percentages. So I'm going to tell you why we don't use that anymore. So unaccounted for water, if you Google unaccounted for water, it's going to give you like 10 different definitions and calculations on how to get it. And everybody's different, all right? And it also uses percentages. It says I've got 15% water loss. Yeah, but where is it? Is it in your meters or is it in your main breaks? You don't know. And then using percentages, it allows you to compare yourself to another utility that may have 12% or 10%, but you don't know all the criteria, the makeup of that system, how old the meters are, how old the pipes are. You don't know any of that. So the American Water Works Association, which we're not part of it, but we use the same methodology, all right? And so we now have metrics. So if you have water loss, you're going to either have it in apparent loss or real loss. So therefore, it shows you where the loss is occurring so that you can implement the appropriate program to address that category of loss. And then, so moving along, you can see that this category, everything equals the category before it. And then you've got non-revenue water and revenue water. So then you've got water loss projects funded. You can go in and type in, public water supply system or project type or whatever you want, and then it will show you what project was funded for that particular utility or that region or county, whatever it may be. So you've got the Water Development Board's water loss audit. You've got the AWWA M36, which is what we use, and then the Water Resource Foundation 5057, which is a resource that is free. You just go to Google and type in WRF 5057, and it's going to show you the validation guidelines that we use, that every validator in the country uses. And then you have the TWD website for validation and water loss dashboard. So if you want to figure out how to get to these resources, the easiest way to do it is just go to the TWDB homepage, just Google TWDB, go to the homepage, scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page, and then you've got like 4 columns on the bottom, and click on Water Loss Audit Worksheet, click on that, and then it will take you to the Water Audit Resources page. And the dashboard is there. Everything you ever didn't want to know about validation is there. We have leak detectors that we can loan out for free. We've got 4 of them. You just reach out to us and we can send you one for free. The only cost to you is to send it back to us. That's the only cost. It's just to pay for shipping to get it back to us. But you can have it for 30 to 60 days. There's all sorts of other resources on there, including these. So that's me. That's a group phone number. We all kind of answer it, and then that's our group email. We all see it. And if you want to reach out to Taylor or Lauren or Karen or myself, just send an email there and specify who you want to talk to. And that's it. Thank you so much. Woo!
If anyone has any questions, I'll pass the mic around.
Well, leak detection, what are they? I mean,
They're ground mics. They come in a box, and you've got earphones, headphones,
Okay, so you just
and
go-
yeah, you're going along.
Okay.
And the cool thing about the ground mics, so when I was a consultant, I sold ground mics, and we use the same ones that I used to sell. So if you need help, like a tutorial on how to use them, I know how to use them. I used to sell them.
I took the Texas Water Development Board online validation
Yes.
course, which was very, very good. I don't recall, is there a time limit on how long that validation is good
Perpetuity.
for?
It's good forever. Just keep a copy. You've got the printout. Yeah, you don't have a printout. That's a desktop thing. You just click it on there, and it's there forever.
I know that the audit's coming up next year
It's
for
every
us
year.
for 2025.
Oh, yes, you're less than 3,300?
Yeah.
Okay,
Are we going to have to do the survey and the audit?
every year.
I
You
know
have to
we've
do
been
the
doing
survey every year.
but I
So
meant
yes, you would have to do
Since we have to
that.
do the audit, we got to do both.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, but the good thing is that once you've done the survey, most of it populates into the audit. So like January, February, and March, we have a 4-hour one that goes through the water use survey and the audit that you'll actually get 4 hours of TCQ operator credit for. The other one, if you don't do that one in one of those 3 months, the other one is on our website and you can just watch it. It's an hour, but it doesn't talk about the survey, it doesn't talk about all the other, just the audit. And then we can send you a certificate.
So with the water audit, does it place you in a specific tier after you have completed the audit? And then at that point in time, do you also give recommendations on what to fix, repair, do whatever to bring that water loss down?
So you're talking about once you've done the validation or done the audit?
Done the audit.
Yeah, so the audit, there's no tier. It's just everybody's done an audit. And only the utilities, including next year, only the utilities that have an obligation with us or an incoming obligation have to be validated. So if you're below 3,300 connections, then you have to do one next year. But other than that, it's every 5. It's every 5 for the people with less than 3,300 connections. If you're more than 3,300, then you're doing it every year, but you're still not validated unless you have an obligation. Does that help you? Okay. So when you're filling out the audit, there's a question mark, or actually there's on the Water Audit Resources page, you can go into the assessment table and see what you would need to do to go from a 0.5 to a 1 and so on. And small systems will never get to an 80. It's just not possible. That's the reason the water audit was created, so that you do the audit and then you score yourself after you filled in all the data. So the audit is designed so that you can save copies and look at your scores over time. And don't look at the audit as a whole. Pick one category and see what do we need to do to score higher in that one category this year. and work on that. And then when you've exhausted your resources on that category, then go to the next one and do the same thing. You know, it's good to have your meters, your customer meters tested. And, you know, if you're you are a smaller system. So see if you can reach out to a larger system that maybe does that and see if they would help you out. And then, you know, instead of testing meters because TCQ says every 3 years, do it annually. So that at least your starting point, your production number is valid. It's like the beginning number in your checking account at the beginning of the month. That number's got to be absolutely correct. Otherwise, you know, in the old days, you may bounce a few checks.
We have a few questions from some virtual attendees.
Okay?
This is a two-parter. What frequency are utilities validated? How many years will it take you to audit all of the utilities?
So we have about 400 utilities each year, and that number increases and decreases each year. We will do our best to validate you. We only have 4 staff members, so we'll do our best. And then, yeah, you're only validated once every year until the loan is paid off. So if you've got 13 years to pay it off, then you're going to be validated 13 times. We hope. That's our goal. Hope that answered that question. It was a good question, though. Well, thank you all so much for listening and not falling asleep.